Welcome back, everybody. It's the Press Podcast. I'm Joseph, your host. It's good to see you. It's good to be back. We've got a great show for you today. Big show, huge show, really. What a story, what a testimony, what a changed life. And really what the press is all about, getting into the real deal, things that really matter. I know you're going to like it. And you know what? Sit back, strap those seatbelts on. We're going to Mach 10. Here we go. It's the Press Podcast. People, we are so excited to be back. It's the Press. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with a friend, Nic Davidson, Nicholas Davidson, and so we're just going to chat. We're going to just talk about some things. Hopefully you will enjoy this. If you're not following, if you're not subscribed to our broadcast, to the press here, make sure to do that. And also in the comments, if you have any questions or comments for Nic, we'll look at those later and maybe we'll address them. Maybe we'll get back to them in a future broadcast or something like that. But be sure to tell us what you think about it. And let's go. So, Nic, thank you so much for joining us here, man. Look at this. This is crazy.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing all right. So give us a little, background, elevator, explanation kind of thing or whatever, growing up. How many brothers and sisters?
So I got a younger brother and a younger sister. There's three of us.
So oldest.
So I'm the oldest.
Oh,
I'm
man.
1980, bud. 1980.
Okay. All right. Okay.
80s baby.
Yeah. And born in?
Born in Johannesburg, South Africa. Town that I grew up in is Edenvale, but yeah, basically born in Johannesburg. All three of us grew up there. And a happy family, my mom, dad, brother, and sister.
Okay.
Had a good time.
Okay. Mom and dad were from South Africa originally?
Mom and dad were both born in South Africa.
Okay.
But kind of, depending on which way you want to go, my dad's 100% Irish. His family grew up in Ireland. My grandparents are from Ireland. And then my mom's side is a little bit more from the British side, from the English side. Mm. But, South Africa's got a lot of history. There's a lot of kind of mixed from different cultures and stuff. But mine is definitely from Belfast on my dad's side, and then English more on my mom's side. And then obviously some Afrikaans roots there as well.
Because they've been there now for quite a while then.
Yeah.
Obviously. If they were born there, so their parents came.
Yeah,
right?
My grandparents were the first, on my dad's side, my grandparents were the first to come across from that side of the family. My mom's side, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure of the lineage there, but I think they're probably like second or third generation in South Africa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And my grandfather my dad's side would have come across I think it was early 50s, just after World War II. So he came across early 50s, and my dad was born in 55. And he's got two older brothers, and my uncles were born in Ireland, and my dad was born in South Africa.
Okay.
But obviously, it's a little bit hazy, the memory there, but that's the basics.
Yeah,
of
we're
it.
Pulling on a lot of things.
Yeah.
For sure. But dad then must have been pretty rough scuff kind of guy, or
oh no, he's
not too much. I mean, just coming from there would have been a lot of challenges.
Put it this way, we're definitely Irish. We definitely held up to our Irish roots and traditions. There's no doubt there. Okay. We all enjoyed a good drink growing up, no doubt.
I bet. Okay.
No doubt there.
And so farming or just city life or
no, my grandfather worked in Modderfontein at I think a dynamite plant, if I remember correctly. That was his kind of thing. And then my dad started getting into the truck business. I think he started his trucking business in 1981, because I was around when he started selling truck spares from my backyard. Oh. And that was his main business for a long time. He grew his business from there.
So buying
spares.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big rigs, the big trucks.
Not big like here.
Oh, not big like here.
Not big like, so like 1-ton trucks. Not like the big trucking here. But like Hino cabs, Dyna cabs, that kind of stuff. That was his main business. Again, I'm drawing on some old memories there. But
yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, oldest and upbringing, being the oldest, you're the test child.
Yes.
Usually. So you get away with everything. Or no, yeah.
Yeah, I was growing up was good. We had a good upbringing. We grew up pretty well. I had a good life. I was definitely the eldest, so I kind of had to look after my brother and sister when I can. couple of scary stories along the way there. My brother fell through a window once. He got his arm hurt. My sister was floating in a pool and I had to jump in and save her. So definitely did the best I could as an older brother.
So they're very thankful.
Yeah, definitely did the best I could. Couple of close calls, yeah. And we traveled a lot as a family as well. We did a lot of traveling. So we were really close to the three of us growing up. We spent a lot of time together.
Is that right?
Yeah, we'd do some trips to Botswana and Namibia and in Zimbabwe in the 4x4. We were fortunate enough to do a lot of overseas travel. So yeah, mom and dad definitely spoiled us.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So his business was
Yeah, he had a very successful business.
Wow.
Very successful business.
Okay, and pretty much right from the time you can remember.
As far as I can remember.
Yeah, okay.
We always tease because I'm a lot shorter than my younger brother. So
Okay.
I was born when things were starting, and then he was born when things were doing well. So he's a lot taller and stronger than me. It's always the family joke, yeah.
Oh, the dynamics of family are awesome.
100%.
That's so good. And so, yeah, so school life, so your family was pretty well off.
Yeah.
And so like the schools in South Africa, how does that work?
Schools in South Africa, there's the government schools and then the private schools. I went to a government school we have primary school and then high school. And then after high school, you can decide if you want to do tertiary education, like either university or a college or stuff. Yeah, we're really good. I had a good high school career. I was kind of always overachieving on the social side. I was actually the head boy of the school, which, I don't think that's common here, but we go to school in uniforms, and when you become the head boy, you kind of help look after the kids for the teachers and hold assemblies and chat to the kids. So that was a good time. And
You're the go-to guy?
Well, not the go-to guy, but I ran I don't know, not ran, this doesn't sound like the right choice of words, but there's a prefect and the head boy. So I was the head boy, and then there's a whole bunch of prefects that we work with as a group, and then we try to help look after the school, the kids, keep the rules in place, and everyone's behaving, and then the teachers would talk through us. And remember, it was in kind of a more of a ranking there. So you would get awards for your academic achievements, you get awards for your sporting achievements, and then on your blazer, you would have the different things for being successful: full colors, half colors.
Oh, really?
So very different to
Even in the government school?
Even in the government school. Very different to schooling here in Canada. I would say it probably stems a lot from the sort of the British influence there, 100%.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. And
we'd go to school with a tie and a blazer and long pants and smart shoes and socks pulled up and...
Very interesting. Boy. Yeah, none of that happened for me growing up. So that's so far out of what I wear Miami Dolphins t-shirts.
Man, and you know what? Now that I see it here coming here, so much better for the average parents because they don't have to buy fancy clothes. You would just wear the same school clothes from Monday to Friday.
There are some benefits with that.
Definitely.
And then I guess you can't really get picked on for what you're wearing or not wearing.
Yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, look, and I mean, I was one of the 1994 things changed quite a bit in South Africa. So it was a big change between the pre-apartheid and after apartheid, and then obviously those poorer communities, it was a lot easier for them because everyone would come in uniform and not have to be distinctive on who they are and where they come from.
Okay, so at the government school, was it segregated?
So before it was segregated, 100%, and then from 94 it became mixed race, mixed culture, and everything.
Interesting.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay, so was there a learning curve? Or?
Oh, there's always a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, always a learning curve.
Was there gangs and different?
No.
Different, that kind of a,
Man, it feels so long ago.
Is that right?
It feels like, I matriculated, which is the end of high school in 1998. So that was a long time. So
it was pretty close to.
Yeah, so there was kind of not much had developed yet, it was early times. But it's like anything, man. The news always makes it out to be worse than it is.
Right, okay.
They use it as a narrative for a lot of these things. So
right.
I had a good school career and everyone seemed happy and we mixed well and everyone was happy. I really had a good school career, man. I have nothing to complain about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were the aspirations? Well, like in high school, what did you think was going to be the future for Nic?
Man, that's a good question. I enjoyed art a lot. That was I enjoyed drawing. I enjoyed creating things. I really enjoyed even technical drawing. So I definitely thought I'd be in a more art kind of background. And that's why when I finished high school and I went on exchange program, I went to Geneva for a year and I went to an art school in Geneva. And I really enjoyed that. There was a lot of painting and sculpture, and I learned so much because, all the European museums, and we'd travel around to all the different museums. I saw a lot of art that year, and that was a huge thing. And then I came back to South Africa and I went to an art direction school, college, where I got a diploma in art direction.
In art direction.
So that was basically advertising in
Okay.
a nutshell.
Yeah, okay,
So it was
okay.
so there's different parts of advertising, how they broke it up. There was a graphic design side and an art direction side to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was when computers were a little involved? Or?
Yeah, when I started was the very first. Remember the old apples with the?
I think I do.
Do you
Yes.
remember those?
Oh, yeah.
So we had those were our first ones, and I
Oh,
remember
man.
getting my first. My dad, again, my dad was looking after me. I got my first iBook. What do they call? Was it a Mac Pro? What was it?
iMac, maybe?
iMac. Yeah, it was
iMac,
geez,
something
again,
like yeah.
iMac.
It was that all-in-one.
White, all
yeah,
white.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but I had the proper laptop.
Oh, you had the proper. Okay, yeah. I think it was an iMac. I think, yeah.
It was an iMac. It was
yeah.
a good time. I mean, that's a long time ago. And then I finished the high school. Finished college, and then I went to work at a advertising agency for a little bit, and then it's kind of where I met the band. And I was got involved with the band. Then started touring a lot with the band, and that's when things started to change. And I didn't enjoy doing so much of the art stuff. I ended up going to help my dad with the motorcycle shop, which was about 2001. I started working for my dad at his Triumph motorcycle dealership.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Dad had the truck parts,
Truck business, yeah.
and then at some point started the motorcycle shop.
In a synopsis, there was basically Dad and I've been riding our whole lives. I started riding bikes when I was 2. My dad's always ridden. He had some Harleys when I was young. I used to ride his Sportster around, and he had a down and wide glide. They'd go into the shop, and that was obviously because it's Nic Davidson, so Harley Davidson kind of had to happen.
Oh boy, yeah.
And then in about 98, Dad started kind of looking into Triumphs, and he bought a few Triumphs, and we had a couple of Triumphs in his garage, and we really, really enjoyed it. So he started a sort of side business out of the truck business, selling Triumph motorcycles. And then in 2001, there was an opportunity for him to grow that business. And he said, hey, would I, enjoy coming to work for him full time? At that stage, I was kind of working for him on Saturdays at the shop. And then we expanded the shop to its location in Edenvale. So we moved it out of the truck company and put it into a premises in the main town in Edenvale.
Okay.
And funny enough, where the building we opened it up in 2001 was the same building we closed down in 2019, 2020. So it was 20 years
20
basically
years
in the same premises.
In the same premises.
It expanded a lot from that building, but it was that same buildings where we opened the doors and closed the doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Triumph. Where does that bike come from?
So the Triumph is a British brand.
British.
So that's started in like 1902 was the first, 1903, sorry, 1902 was the first Triumphs. But then their history was till about the 60s. And then they closed down in the late 60s, early 70s. And then a guy by the name of John Blur, he started Triumph motorcycles up again in, I would say, late 80s.
Okay.
And then it started booming. Yeah, from about 98, 99, it started to grow. And then by 2010, it was really booming.
Okay.
And that's when their growth. And now they're producing 65,000 motorcycles a year. And that's what I based my whole career on. So I was with Triumph Motorcycles in South Africa my entire career there. And that's actually how I got the job here in Canada, was through Triumph Motorcycles. Yeah, that's how I got here.
Very interesting. So Harleys switched to Triumph.
That's it.
And were there a lot of Triumph authorized sellers at that moment?
No, kind of, again, there was a Kawasaki Motorcycles was the main importer of Triumph into South Africa. I think at the end, before Kawasaki lost it, there was about 11 dealers. However, at that stage, we were the only sole Triumph agency. So we specialized just in Triumph. That was one of our strongest assets, that we were brand specific.
Okay.
And all we did was buy, sell, trade, customize, workshop, Triumph.
Okay.
A lot of the other guys were like Triumph and Kawasaki and maybe a Suzuki dealership, or they were multi-facet, multi-branded shops. And that was one of our strongest sort of things that stuck out for us, because everyone would come to us for Triumph.
So obviously Triumph was like, we like these guys.
100%, yeah.
We're going to give them this great opportunity.
Well, it was a symbiotic relationship.
Okay.
They saw the advantage to us, and then they helped Dad out, and it was good. We were their top dealer for 17 years or something.
In all of South Africa?
All of South Africa.
Okay.
But you must remember, it's a lot smaller than...
I understand, but still, it's, that's pretty big for sure. And so art to motorcycles.
Where that kind of bridges over was I was doing a lot of custom bikes as well. So I enjoyed kind of bringing that into it. I didn't have the skills to kind of do the all of the physical stuff, but my workshop and the guys I worked with, and that kind of grew into its own business, friends. And I mean, my main technician, Mike McManus, he was with us for like 20 years. I learned so much from him as well on that kind of stuff. So with my ideas and his skills, we would, build some pretty cool bikes.
All right. Well, maybe we'll show.
Yeah, we can put some bikes up.
Couple of bikes so people look
and
at.
at the end, I was getting more and more hands-on with it, and I really enjoyed it. And then from that, another friend of mine, Rory, joined us, and he was doing a lot of fabrication for us, a lot of metal work. We were doing our own frames. So it's, it was really good.
Yeah, that's some serious, technicalities.
Yeah, it was really good. He had, it was fun. And even then, it was South Africa. We were just learning as we went along.
Right.
We don't.
Yeah. And you're running the shop.
I was running Dad's shop. Yeah,
like,
so I was running Dad's shop. I ran his shop for a long time.
Started with a couple employees, or
well, man, from the beginning to the end, it was almost the same group of guys.
Interesting.
So it was myself, and my dad, and then the two guys in the workshop. There was one or two workshop guys that came and went, but Mike was with us from beginning to the end. Duncan was with us for 15 years. My sister worked for us till she moved to Canada. It was pretty much the core 5 guys from beginning to the end.
Interesting.
So it was good times. Yeah,
almost could run like a reality show out of it, or something like that.
It definitely crossed my mind, but I don't know if I had that in me.
So the band stuff.
Yeah.
The shop was going. You're running the shop, or not just yet?
So I'm running the shop, and then I'm doing the band stuff on the side.
Now the band stuff. What's that all about?
So I was hanging out with a group of guys called Fuzzy Gish, which is a punk rock band in South Africa. Started hanging out with them more and more and more. Really enjoyed it. Started kind of going on all the tours with them. And eventually kind of became the tour manager. So we were touring Europe. I think we did 2 tours to Europe. We did a tour to Australia. We played all over South Africa. And it worked out well. I was doing the tour management and roadie and merch guy and driver and everything. And it
sounds pretty involved. Like,
it was fun. It was intense, but it was good.
Like, when you're talking about a tour of Europe, how many days are you doing this?
I think the longest one we did was 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
2
right.
months.
All right. So
one was 3 months, maybe. One was maybe as long as 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Driving a bus.
We had like an old car, and we just drove around, piled in there, and it was definitely not high. It wasn't 5-star. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Definitely not 5-star.
Okay. So that seems, so you've got the biking, you've got the band.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be pretty envious, in certain ways, of what's going on. You're fabricating. It's pretty cool.
Well, look, I mean, life was definitely not boring. I kept the pedal on the metal for a long time. My mom always used to get upset because she felt as burning the candle on both ends.
Right.
And the lifestyle that comes along with that as well.
Right.
So we were flat out all the time. I mean, I worked for Fuzzy Gish for 12 years.
12 years as their band manager.
As their band manager. Well, in the beginning, I was kind of the roadie, and then that developed into a managerial kind of position.
Right.
And that was a good 12 years with them. We actually had another company within the band called Punk Safari.
Okay.
And we were bringing bands out from America, and then we'd do like a tour around South Africa. And we did some pretty cool things there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we did that for...
So you had... And how many bands came from America?
We did Lagwagon, Mad Caddies, NoFX, which was a big one.
I've heard of NoFX.
Yeah, so we did NoFX. That was our biggest tour.
That's a pretty big band.
Yeah, that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And especially for South Africa.
Especially for South Africa,
No one was bringing those bands in.
Okay.
Kind of at that stage, everyone that was coming to South Africa was like... past their expiry date.
Right.
So the guys that were doing their last kind of tours were coming through South Africa. And that was the first time to bring sort of biggish punk rock bands through South Africa was that. And that was 2006, 2007.
Okay.
So, it was good times. Crazy times.
Yeah. And Mom, what does she think about the band deal?
Well, Mom's always worry.
Yeah.
Moms know what it comes like. And, she could see, she was always nervous.
Okay.
Yeah, she was, I think, thank goodness Mom was praying as much as she did.
Right.
Yeah, I think my mom was on her knees a lot for us. So
okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
I bet. And Dad, what did he think? He think just whatever?
Oh, Dad's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was happy. We would, as long as I was coming to work and selling bikes, he was happy.
As long as you guys were number one?
Yeah, as long as we were number one. Obviously, there was a fine line between the band and the shop. So, eventually,
shop first?
Yeah, I had to eventually kind of let go of the band and focus more on the shop.
Because it was growing.
I mean, I literally was burning the candle at both ends, just pushing it too much.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
spread myself pretty thin.
Okay. And now today you're married,
Today I'm married.
and so your wife Liesel.
Yeah, my wife Liesel.
Where does she come in?
Funny enough, I actually met Liesel just before we bought NoFX out to South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met her through we were asked to judge a battle of the bands type thing. So we were hanging out at a battle of the bands, and then I got to meet Liesel, and that's how we met. And that was in, I think we started dating end of 2007, and then we got married in 2009.
Okay.
We got married 2009.
Yeah. Love at first sight.
Love at first sight. Big, and the band was doing pretty well then, and she
In South
enjoyed
Africa,
in
for
South
sure.
Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she came to all the shows. She actually knew the band. I didn't know that she knew the band. So it was our paths crossed. Yeah, and it was awesome. You
Okay.
know, similar lifestyle. So we instantly got on well.
Yeah.
Instantly.
And so was she now traveling with you?
No,
Obviously-
she kind of no, she didn't
No.
go on the tours or
Okay.
anything like that.
All right.
You know, it was kind of the band rules were no wives on tour.
Of course. Yeah. Obviously, I guess back then that's
Yeah, but
the way-
yeah,
and
it's just
even
easier-
still, I
yeah.
bet. Yeah.
It's just easier that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
So, and what was she up to in her life?
She became a hairdresser. So
Okay.
when I met her, she was studying to become a hairdresser, and they're an extremely successful hairdresser. She did really well as a hairdresser. She had her own salon. Extremely busy, successful business in South Africa as a hairdresser. Yeah, she's very good at it. Super talented at that. Very talented.
Okay.
Kind of expert in doing blondes. That was her thing, was she could turn anyone into a blonde.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, she
Okay.
was very, very good at hairdressing. Extremely talented lady.
Very good. Well, then that's always a plus and help out for different looks for you, I guess. if
Well,
you
there's
need
not
it,
much
or
you
no.
can do there. That's
Oh, okay.
that's what you get.
Well, now, but maybe back then.
I had a little bit of hair back
Yeah,
then.
I bet you did.
I had
right?
some hair back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't we all?
No, I
right?
just got no hairline and a waistline, as they say.
Perfect. So bikes, selling bikes.
Yeah.
There's a certain clientele.
Yes.
Sometimes that come along with that. Definitely with Harleys.
Well, the biking scene in South Africa is a big scene.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a huge, motorcycling in South Africa is massive because we can ride 12 months a year. So we're riding all the time in South Africa. And it's a long running, culture in South Africa. Motorcycling is ingrained into South Africa. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's different walks of life that come with that. There's a lot of club riders in South Africa. It's a big part of the motorcycle industry. There is the club riders. And then like anywhere, there's the weekend warriors. Dirt biking's big, track riding's big. We've got a lot of talented riders. We've actually got one of the guys is in the MotoGP. It's from South Africa, Brad Binder. A lot of the guys do well in the motocross scene. A lot of guys riding in Europe. A lot of guys running in different things around, like in Europe, in the UK. So a lot of talented bike riders coming out of South Africa as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there would be a lot of things that you're now around.
Yeah.
That can get dark.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, in the band, you're in a punk, you're managing a punk band.
Oh man, dude, there's no secrets there. The drinking and partying kind of took over. And that's part of the lifestyle that kind of crossed there. Some guys can party and turn off. I just never knew how to turn off. So, when I was and that's part of the lifestyle with the bike shop, guys were always coming over to drink and hang out. With the band, we were partying all the time. All the time. Never stopped. Never stopped, yeah. Thought it was fun, and then it gets to a point when it's not fun anymore.
Right. Okay.
And if I'm truthful, like, even once I left the band, I still partied harder than I should have. So, it's not like it was the band's, that was my decisions. I just kept partying and partying.
Yeah.
And I think it was, to kind of keep that lifestyle that I wanted in my brain. I did well at school, did well at this, did well at that, and I always wanted to do more and be more and just be that guy all the time. I always wanted to be a push.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's always liked at that stage. I mean, it was if I had to be even more honest, would just be pretty much to be the center of attention all the time. And that came. I always wanted to be the last guy at the party.
Sure.
I wanted everyone to know who I was.
Yeah.
And that just
when you're the band manager, that's a pretty popular guy.
Yeah. Well, it's just all of it.
Right.
I just pushed all the time. And
bike shop manager, doing custom bikes.
Yeah, all of it.
Probably bike shows.
And we were doing bike shows. We were entering, competitions. We were everything. We didn't stop, man.
Right.
So just pushed it too hard, and eventually it kind of took over, and I wasn't in control of it. It was in control of me.
Okay.
You know, the drinking and the partying.
The drinking and the partying.
Yeah.
So you must have been pretty successful though financially, or yes or no? Or
I would probably be more financial if I didn't drink and party it all the way. I definitely drank way more than I should have.
Is that right?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I was drinking way too much.
So like, and we're talking like 2002-ish still? Or?
So I partied from when I was 18, and then I stopped, and actually now it's 10 years that I stopped drinking and partying now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think
so
that was
a good 60% of your life?
Yeah.
Almost?
I mean, from 18, I started partying pretty hard in Geneva, and then it was the last drink I had was basically 12 o'clock on December 31st, 2014.
Oh, wow. All right.
So that's the last time I had a drink.
Well, we definitely want to get into that for sure, because that's an important part
100%.
of everything that what is going on today. So like your typical like month managing the band, you guys driving around, partying all day?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were like, I'd work at the shop during the day.
Okay.
And then, for example, like some of the weekends when there was big festivals, I'd work in the shop on a Friday, drive out to the festival Friday night, play with the acoustic part of the band, drive to work Saturday night, go back to the festival, play with the main band, come back to Joburg Sunday morning, pick up Liesel, go back to the festival to watch the international band. So it was,
wow,
back at the bike shop on Monday.
So
Yeah.
Goodness. And
I mean, that wasn't all the time, but yeah, I was.
No, yeah.
And we would have, I think our record with the band, I think we played 175 shows one year.
Wow.
I think that was our highest.
A lot of shows.
That was our highest shows that we played one year. Some New Year's we were playing 2-3 shows. We would play like a midday show. We'd go play one festival, and then we'd play another one at like 12 o'clock at night. Like, we were pushing.
This is a lot of pushing, a lot of playing. For sure. And you can see why it would go right with what you're wanting, because you're just continuing, right?
Never ending. Yeah.
And the bike shop, and like you were saying, clubs with the bikes and stuff like that. So there must have been some nefarious people.
Oh, it's a huge part of the culture in South Africa. I think the bike clubs are big around the world.
Right.
There's a lot of well-known clubs in South Africa as well. A lot of big-name clubs in South Africa as well. I never rode for a club. I wasn't involved in any club, but it was around me all the time. 100%.
Around you all the time. Yeah. Right. And the for people that don't know in South Africa, like the crime and different things, like what's is that big difference from what?
Oh well, look, that's what the advantage with me knowing the clubs is. I was always looked after. We didn't have to worry about too much. We were. But yeah, crime in South Africa is out of control, unfortunately. It's a sad reality, and it's kind of that can be a whole conversation on itself on why the crime is where it's at, and it comes down to basically people are desperate. So I think we got 65 million people in South Africa that are counted for. There's a lot of illegal people in South Africa, so I don't know what that number is now, but there's not that much work.
Okay.
So it just goes hand in hand. But yeah, you can lose your life over a cell phone in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, it can be that bad.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, and a lot of carjacking, a lot of house robberies. But it's a beautiful country, and I miss it a lot. I really miss it. I didn't even think I realized how much I would miss it till I got here.
Okay.
Yeah, I miss it so much. I think if I didn't have a family to protect and looked after, I probably would have stayed myself. But coming here was the best opportunity for my wife and my daughter. 100%. 100%.
So you got the shop.
Yeah.
Shop's doing great.
Yeah.
Like you're top, in South Africa. I'm sure you're keeping busy. You're basically living at the shop. I would suspect, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
This time.
Yeah.
And so, now you're here in Canada. This is, and also we've got this hard and fast lifestyle.
Yeah.
That you're going hard and fast after.
Yeah.
And we know there's a clock ticking on that for
100%.
Everybody who rolls that way.
100%.
So a lot of people, will have different events that will go on that will kind of, shake them a little bit. Some people turn, some people don't, and for you? Like, was it just gradual, or was there something that was a
I
little,
think, you know, this is, you know, an opportunity to like this. This is kind of where I'd love to let people know what happens with addiction is you always
So when
think,
you say addiction,
yes,
and heavy into this,
yes.
like give the people just an idea. Like, were you doing narcotics as
Yeah,
well?
so I was doing narcotics as well, a lot of narcotics.
Like hard ones?
Hard ones.
Okay.
No,
So,
yeah, so hard narcotics. I was doing a lot
and
of
weekly?
Oh, daily.
Daily. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was 100% a drug addict. So I
Right.
was
And drinking,
drinking, and the two go hand in hand.
Of course.
They go hand in hand.
Right.
But that's kind of like an opportunity like this is where I'd like to bring up. Like most of the time, you think you're in control, and then at a certain stage, you're not in control. And eventually at the end, which I now realize was the Holy Spirit, but you start getting messy with your addiction, which I think is your subconsciousness or the Holy Spirit trying to get you help. So you start making silly mistakes with your addiction. In the beginning, you're a pro at hiding it. You're a pro at keeping it undercover. You're pro, especially my personality, which is a functioning addict.
Okay.
You know, I never missed a day of school. I never missed a day of work. I would just go. But I think eventually you get to a stage where you make mistakes.
Because you got to keep increasing it.
Yeah, well,
Almost,
everything,
right?
well, financially and everything, you know, and that's when you start getting missing, and that's when the mistakes start happening, and that's when you get caught. And then that's invariably where it changes. And for me, the end was where Liesl kind of said, listen, you know, enough is enough now. You know, and I already, if I think about it, before I even got caught with Liesl, I was speaking to friends asking for help.
You were okay. You were recognizing.
Yeah, I knew I was in trouble.
So we're talking about how many years of daily, you know,
Man, a long time, bro.
like 5 years?
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah, more
Okay,
than that.
so this is pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy. Yeah.
And when you're saying you started to get messy, can you give us like what kind of thing maybe, or just
Just you when you start using all the time, you're not keeping it clean and tidy. You know, you're leaving evidence behind, you're leaving mistakes behind, and
okay.
and that's where you realize you need help. You know?
And Liesl at first did she know that this or
she kind of knew that we were partying.
she
hard.
would have to,
Yeah, she knew,
right?
we were
Because she was there with you a little bit.
She knew
right?
the band was partying it hard, but I was hiding how hard I was partying.
Okay,
No doubt.
she was maybe thinking just with the band.
And then when I left the band, she thought things. Yeah, no, I was. I mean, there's no need to lie about it. I mean,
Right.
I was hiding it pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys had been together for how long before she was like, this is getting.
Well, we had. I stopped in 2014, and we had been married since 2009.
2009.
Yeah,
Okay. So she had seen quite a few years.
Yeah, quite a few years. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I left the band.
obviously-
I left the band in 2012, if I remember correctly.
So okay. So just a couple of years before.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Liesl says this is enough, but that's, I mean, I guess you really loved Liesl a lot then.
Well,
and you said you were reaching out for help a
I was
little
reaching
bit,
out for
like,
help,
you
and
know,
of course, I didn't want to lose my wife,
Right.
You know, and I mean, at that stage, I was already.
had she was like said a couple of times, like,
No, it's on that-
encouraged you to.
She was asking all the time.
Okay.
She was asking all the time for the drinking to stop, because it's an age-old thing. When you drink, you don't, you think you're okay, but you're not okay.
So okay.
You're not okay. So so she asked me to quit, and I never did. And then eventually it got to a point where she's like, "Listen,
Would you tell her you're quitting, and then
Yeah, I'd try.
try to
I would
yeah,
try.
of course,
I
because
would
you don't
try.
want to be flat out.
Yeah, I would try.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where it was, and my health had deteriorated. I mean, I weighed next to nothing.
Is that right?
My weight had deteriorated so much. My fidgeting, my move, I was down and out.
Absolutely.
Bro. Yeah, I was done.
Yeah, because you're doing like heavy narcotics.
Yeah, I'm doing
too,
heavy
so the body
narcotics
can
and
only
I'm doing a
take
lot
so
of drinking,
much.
and it just wears you down. I would do it if I was pretty much at the end there. So, and again, there's all we don't know what God's plan is, and there was time for me to stop that.
Yeah.
That had come to that time, and a big part of I grew up in a Christian home, and a big part of me getting back onto track with God was my sobriety kind of walk, where a very good friend of mine, she was my homeopath, and she was a huge part on getting me sorted out, getting my health back in track, and she was like, "Listen, if you want to do this, we need God." So that was a huge part of that.
That's a pretty
abrupt
thing to.
Yeah, no, it was very impactful on me.
Wow.
Very impactful. We knew I needed help to get over it because it was such a long period of abuse that you can't just stop and be okay.
Yeah,
your
body's gonna
your body's gonna shut down. There's so
things.
much, and the lady who helped me was a huge part of helping me get back on track. And I didn't want to do it in the traditional ways. I was embarrassed. I didn't want anyone to know, oh, where's Nic gone for 3 months? So I was still doing it while
So you wanted to keep the work going.
I still worked through the whole process. I would go see her twice a week. And it was a huge thing. And, I remember one morning waking up and driving to work down the same road that I'd driven down a million quadrillion times, and just the trees started to look different. And the sun coming through the trees starting to look different. And you can't believe that feeling of starting to let all of that stuff go. And that's the beauty of God and Jesus. Like, everyone gets a second chance.
It's pretty awesome, man.
Everyone gets a second
chance. As you're
chance.
saying that, I'm feeling it. It's like the fog.
Yeah, it just clears up, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Wow.
And you must, and I often talk, I mean, you've heard me talk before, like, when you're in the darkest of the darks, do you know how real the evil is? And then when you start to come out of it and you see Jesus again, you realize how much his love is and how huge his love is and how much he's prepared to do anything for anyone if you're prepared to come to him. Like, it's huge, man.
Yeah.
And, that's what I've always thought about I'm not proud of the decisions I made. No one would be proud of that. But if one person can listen to this and realize that they can be helped and they can be saved and they can be fixed, then I'm a happy man. If that means one more guy picks up his Bible and comes to Jesus and puts everything at the foot of the cross, I'm all for it, man.
Wow.
100%.
Yeah. So good. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, your wife is saying, you got to stop.
Yes.
So this is not a good stage.
No.
For a marriage to be in.
No.
We're in this stage. Christian upbringing.
Yeah.
Influence.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe not crazy.
Yeah.
But definitely a part of
Yes.
things, right? This naturopath friend says to you, the only way we could do it is with God.
Correct.
So all of a sudden now you're kind of confronted with, like, a whole bunch of stuff.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the beginning, when you getting all of the stuff out of your body, the insomnia is insane. I think I didn't, Lisa will remember the time. I think it was like almost 2 months I didn't sleep because you don't have the substances to help your cycle. So getting through all of that, but at the same time, that drives you to want to get better, man. And I can tell you with absolute confidence, I wouldn't have been able to do this without faith. The faith was the driving factor for me to do it. And that's why I can turn back and look at the last 10 years and know I achieved it because I never gave up on the faith. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes even in the last 10 years. But knowing that I have the faith to look forward to,
So Jesus, you knew about Jesus growing up. You knew that, he was God.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah, we
right?
grew up in my mom is a devout Christian, and we grew up and we went to Assemblies of God. And I guess probably like any teenager at 14, I had more questions and I maybe didn't get the right answers at 14. But one thing I will say, every decision I made was my decision I made. I will never blame anyone for anything. All of what I did, I was well aware of what I was doing. I was conscious of my decisions, man.
Right.
Even in the stuff, I mean, I always feared God. I always knew God was real, but I chose to ignore it.
And you said something earlier too, which was that the darkness.
Yes.
Now, when you say, so you got to see and understand that there really is dark things, dark sides, dark scenarios.
It's everything your mom warned you about. A little bit. And man,
And you would have never saw yourself there.
No. It's like I say to my daughter all the time. It's like there's so many things that parents say to kids that are 100% the truth. but different personalities need to walk through different things to find out where they want to go. And then I was arrogant, man. I thought I had it all under control.
And I'm sure all the people around you were wanting you to continue.
I had it all. I thought I had worked it all out. But the darkness is real, man, and it can creep in different ways. And obviously, when I'm talking about darkness, I'm talking about Satan. He'll find a way in, and you might not even realize he's finding a way in. And that's what my strongest thing is that darkness is real, and because there's darkness, God is 110% real, and God is stronger than the darkness. And that's the most important thing I can tell anyone, is that God will defeat Satan if you bring him into your life. He will come. And the reason I say it like that is it might not be like the correct way to explain it, but I'm using that kind of way for the people that are in the darkness and know they're in the darkness. Because if you've never experienced it and you've never been consumed by it, you won't get it. And you need to just reach out. If you put your hand up, he'll come.
And God is so merciful.
100%.
And so awesome.
More than you even understand.
When you're going through this transition of stopping drinking, all of this stuff, God is being kind and helping you through it.
Man, and you don't realize all the small mercies.
Because you had nothing really, though, you've not been a good Christian.
No,
you've not represented God well.
Well,
do you know what I mean? And so why would God help you?
Well, there's so many things. There's so many things like, well, why didn't I OD? Why didn't I not make it? Why didn't I think?
Is this something that happened that you saw around you?
Yeah, all the time, man.
Okay. So then that's a question.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Obviously. And my brother-in-law is a beautiful man as well. And he's been a really strong Christian his whole life. And he always, there's some stuff that happened, and I was hanging out with him, and he was like, Jesus didn't come down to earth to hang out with the top guys. He came out here and he hung out with the tax collectors. He hung out with the prostitutes. He hung out with everyone because his love is so massive. He will go after the one lost sheep. And it's pretty powerful, man. If you really think about that. Like, doesn't matter what you've done. He will come. The trick is to understand that you have to continue that path with him. And that's the hard part as humans. You have to continue that path. And that's where getting involved in a church and surrounding yourself with the right kind of people to help build on that foundation.
Right, yeah. And as I understand too, there was some things going on with your wife spiritually as well, a little bit.
Well, she was with my influence, she kind of had stepped away from her, and then she was was having a huge calling to come back to because
she grew up in a Christian.
She grew up in a Christian home. Her brother, her mom, very strong Christians, and obviously with my influence and my lifestyle, she kind of wavered away. And then while I was still abusing, she was having the feel to get her life back on track, and she was looking at churches to get involved at, and she was pushing, and then obviously a big turning point which we haven't kind of addressed was the day Brody was born.
Yeah. Let's go into that a little bit. So you sobered up, and this is a huge fight. This is not some small fight. So it seems like we're just gonna go fast through it, which is all good. But I just want,
bro, it's interesting, man, because so many people always say, this about sobriety. That I can tell you, man, I was in the deep end. I was in the deepest of deep ends.
So there's hope for anybody.
There's hope for anyone. Look, I'm thankful to this day I wasn't, on some of the other stuff that's out there in the world, but I was on something that you could get off of and I could come around. But it wasn't a joke. I wasn't just a weekend warrior. I was in it pretty deep.
And you had your friends and your coworkers and all the stuff around you.
So many people wanted to help
me. Even there were different challenges, where.
Yeah, and so we got sober, and Liesl said, okay, well, we joke about it. Like I said, I'll do a month. She's like, you won't do a month. The joke's carried on because I did it for 10 years now. So
yeah.
No, we had to go for it, and we then decided we had always even agreed, even when I was drinking, that we wanted a family, but Liesl was like, you're not state to be a father. So I said, okay, cool. At 30, let's make a decision whether we can start a family.
Okay.
And I'd kind of been sober for long enough that Liesl kind of trusted me. And we decided to start a family. And luckily, Liesl fell pregnant, which was obviously a blessing in itself. And 2016, Brody was born in October. And everything up until that point had been pretty straightforward and normal. Liesl just struggled with pregnancy because she's just got a small abdomen and stuff, but no alarm bells at all. And then on the, when Brody was born, we had a few complications.
Okay.
Liesl was in labor for just way too long. It was just way too long.
So was she? Was the timing right? The
timing,
was she pretty close?
She was 42 weeks actually. So
Okay,
she was 42 weeks, and she'll remember the exact date, but it was 42 weeks. In labor for ages. I think maybe between myself and the midwife, we maybe made a few bad decisions. But long story short, Brody came out gray and lifeless. So she was lifeless. When I say gray, there was nothing. There was no movement. There was no sounds. There was nothing. It was pretty intense. So we had two midwives. The one midwife stayed with Liesl because she was bleeding quite a bit. And me and the other midwife ran with Brody to another room. And she just said to me, she said, just slap her heart, pull on her arm, and just call out to Jesus. And I was just like,
come on.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty intense. And she was trying to
This is a huge, clash.
Oh, it's
because up
massive.
until this point, you were saying things are kind of good.
Yes.
So you're, obviously you've got Jesus in your life.
Yeah.
You and Liesl both.
Yeah.
Are you going to church?
No, we're not going to yet. We're not going to church, but we're not at church, but we kind of working towards getting back in our life. Yeah.
Right. And so no big, huge hurdles thus
No.
far.
Just when I was going to, when the homeopath was helping me, every time I was going there, she was sit down, we would pray.
She would pray. Yes.
Every time I went to the meeting.
So there was that constant.
So she was just praying and
but
praying.
you on yourself, little prayers here and there.
I was trying, and I was trying to get back
so
into it.
You're warming up to it.
Yeah.
You're coming. Yeah. So
and
then this happens.
and
you're thinking everything's going to be good because everything looked good.
And dude, nothing prepares you for that moment. Nothing prepares you for that. That was I had been in some pretty rough scenarios in my life that nothing prepared me for that.
It's almost helpless.
Completely helpless.
Right.
And I mean, I was
and when you're having this is at home.
No, it's at a birthing clinic.
At a birthing clinic.
At a birthing clinic. So not a hospital.
Okay.
So we had opted to go for a natural birth. C-sections are a big thing in South Africa, and we decided we didn't want to do that. We wanted it to be as natural as possible.
Gotcha.
And I was just slapped. I hit her so hard, bro.
Gray, lifeless,
nothing,
not moving,
nothing.
And Liesl is what's her state at this moment?
I don't think she even realized really what
because she's been in labor for so dang long.
Had zoned
she's
exhausted.
Out. She's toasted.
Toast, bro.
And you were saying there were some complications with her as well.
So she was bleeding quite a bit.
Goodness.
Ran with Brody in the body, and then.
And so I've had a kid before, and I know just even a regular birth is shocking.
Yeah,
and throws you
100%.
So this is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot, and something I need to bring in. Then we had a doula at the time. I don't know if that's a thing in Canada.
Don't know.
So just to help the wife and probably actually help the husband with it, just what to do in these.
Doula.
A doula. Yeah.
Oh yes. So some people know. Yeah.
Yeah. So a doula. She was filming the birth. And then when things went wrong, she put the phone down. And the reason I mention that is that's how we got that Brody didn't breathe for 8 minutes.
Wow.
So there was an 8-minute gap where Brody didn't breathe. So I run through, I'm slamming her heart. The midwife's trying to get all the machines on her and trying to get, and eventually I bruised her, man. She was bruised on her chest and on her back. I don't know how I didn't rip her arm off, to be honest. And she finally takes her first breath. And that was 8 minutes later. Umbilical cord had been cut, so there wasn't even any extra oxygen coming through to her from that. She's out. And she takes her first breath. Our poor mom, my mom and Liesl's mom, they couldn't get hold of us. They didn't know what was going on. It was pretty dramatic, There's hours and hours have passed. I haven't contacted them, so they don't know what's going on.
Oh man.
You know, and when she opened her little eyes and looked at me for the first time, it's pretty powerful. You know, I'm on camera now, so I'm trying not to get emotional, but it's pretty intense.
I bet.
Took her first breath. You know, then we wrapped her up and took her straight to Liesel. You know, literally a miracle, bro. There's no other way to explain it.
8 minutes without oxygen.
8 minutes without oxygen.
Totally.
I mean, I don't know. Do they do the APGAR scoring here?
I'm not super familiar.
So they like when she's born, they score her.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do something like that. Yeah.
And then like she was like on the lowest scoring you could have.
Okay.
And then the next day they had to do it, and she like basically passed with flying colors. And there was no explanation for that. And I mean, you've hung out with her. I mean, there's no sign of There's no sign of
she's perfect.
There's no sign of any damages or implications, and that's purely a miracle because
the mercy and the plans of God.
Yeah, and you know that was a huge thing because that never left me. You know, that I was like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because I didn't deserve that.
Right.
You know, but thank you, Jesus.
Oh, wow, so good. And Liesel would come to know more of this later, I guess.
Well, I think obviously she realized at that stage, but I mean, dude, that's the miracle of the woman body as well. As I think if they had to realize everything we're going, would be no people on the earth, because who would want to do that a second time? You know, So it was intense. I mean, she knew something was up. Can you imagine for her? The baby's gone. I'm gone.
Baby's not there. Yeah. She's already toasted.
So as soon as she took her first breath, and I brought her straight back to
for the touch.
To Liesel, first touch.
Yeah.
And we try to do things as natural as possible, you know. So that was a huge moment.
Okay, and I'm sure they did a whole bunch of other tests just to check everything else.
They came the next day, and
yep.
Obviously everyone was seriously concerned that there was permanent damage.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. In fact, I think she's quite intelligent.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, it's almost like it's gone the other way.
She came out fighting, bro.
Right.
She came out fighting.
Right.
She wasn't going to let go. And by God's grace, she, took her first breath.
So you got sober from a huge,
Life
long
change.
run.
Yeah.
You got that, and without having to go through all these crazy things. You had somebody praying for you, helping you.
Yes.
Your child comes along.
Yes.
Big challenge.
Yes.
God shows up.
Yes.
Does a miracle for you, right? Man, it's been so good chatting with you, and emotionals up and down, laughter. I've definitely been moved by some of the things that you've shared, and I know everybody's really going to enjoy this. I'll give you the last word.
Thanks for listening to me. I know I can talk a lot, and a lot of my friends have always said to me, you should write a book one day, but all I want to end off with is man, no matter what you're going through, and it doesn't have to just be addiction. It can be anything. Just put your hand up. There's good people out there. Put your hand up. We don't need anyone else to be lost. Put your hand up, and there'll be someone there to help you walk through to the next stage. And all you got to do is build on that. And then, let's be there for each other. No time for judging. It's time to build and grow back. That's where I'd like to end off.
Wow. Well, good stuff, man. We might need to have you back to chat about other things later in the future or something like that. But it's been a blessing. Thanks again for coming. Well, there you go, people. What a great story. What a great testimony. What a great change in a life. And when you think about it, pretty awesome. 10 years of being sober after countless years of struggling with addiction, alcohol, narcotics, other things. So, as Nic was saying, any of you listening to this broadcast, there is hope. And if you're struggling, if you're listening to this broadcast right now and you're struggling There's things in your life, whatever addiction it is, whether it's porn, whether it's gambling, whether it's alcohol, whether it's narcotics, we're here for you. Reach out to me, send me a private message. I want to pray with you. I want to stand with you. I want to believe that just like for Nick, he had that somebody who was there praying for him continuously. I want to be that person for you. We've got other people that help with the show that would love to pray and stand and fight with you. You're not alone, and things can change. So there it is. Big things can happen when you come into contact with a big God. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for staying listening. Like I said at the beginning, leave a comment, give a thumbs up. Nick's pretty awesome. Give him some love. Show him some love. Share the broadcast. If there's somebody you know who's maybe struggling with addiction, this might be a pretty good testimony broadcast to share with them so that they can really get some hope. Sometimes it's pretty awesome when you hear from somebody who's actually lived the life and's been changed and's done it and has come through on the other side. So take advantage of this. Share it with those people that need to hear it. We love you guys. And remember, stay salty, friends.